Hi there, I'm Claire Malcolmson. I'm the Executive Director of the Rescue Lake Simcoe Coalition. And I'm here today with Cassie and Joanne from Parklane Landscapes on the beautiful shore of Lake Simcoe.
So we're lucky enough to get to spend a little bit of time on this beautiful property and sort of talk about Claire's problem areas. She's going to walk us around and we're going to sort of speak to what exactly can be done here to help increase the health of the property and the shoreline, as well as add a little bit of artistic and aesthetic flair.
This is an area where we have a lot of water pooling in the spring. Doesn't look like a problem now, but I'm not really sure what to do about it. I mean, we don't want to mess things up for the frogs, but we also don't love having a puddle right by the door.
So without altering the grade too much, we would propose a rain garden.
So there's two different types of rain garden. The rain garden like that you see the plants growing in is actually designed to accommodate the plants and the type of plants that you put into that rain garden. But something like this area here would be more of like a soak away.
So when we build these things, what we're actually doing is contouring the ground. So we're shaping the ground and sloping it towards our infiltration pits, which is what actually houses the water while the soil surrounding that is saturated. So we're creating void space there. Then what we do is we fill it up and level your land off. So what you're walking across is actually quite flat, and that's where the stepping stones would be.
At Lake Simcoe, we're really lucky because we have the best protected shorelines in all of Ontario, thanks to the Lake Simcoe Protection Act and Plan, which were passed by the Government of Ontario in 2008. So what that means is that you can't do much on your shoreline without permission. It's really important that people know that. And that is because it's really important that we protect the ecological integrity of the shoreline area. So a lot of animals and critters depend on a healthy shoreline to live out their healthy lives.
This is a good example of the actual stability of the shoreline being retained through the roots of the trees and the shrubs. And equally then to the front of the berm, there are some, the shoreline is made up of boulders, so large boulders that protect the shoreline and also allow for the ice action in the springtime. So they allow the ice to break up around the stones and not add the pressure to the actual shoreline.
One of the things that we're trying to help change is people's attitudes about natural features. So I just wanted to make a really practical point about the beauty of the berm. What we really enjoy about the berm is that when we have a fire out here at night, we're still protected from the cold wind off the lake. So it actually provides us with a fair bit of shelter. Like having a wide open shoreline is actually not really that practical, and it probably doesn't really add as much enjoyment as you might think. So that's part of what we're trying to challenge here. If you are going to do any work on the shoreline at Lake Simcoe, you probably need a permit. So you can just Google LSRCA, do I need a permit? And you'll get this list, but here are the nuts and bolts. Within 100 meters of the Lake Simcoe shoreline, if you are filling, if you're changing the grade, if you are digging more than just putting in some plants, if you're putting boulders on the shoreline, if you are increasing the size or the use of a structure like a cottage, you really need to make sure that what you're doing is permitted by the Lake Simcoe Region Conservation Authority. One of the areas where we have real problems is where we've lost a lot of ash trees. The canopy is opened up in a lot of places, so there's a lot more sunlight hitting the ground. Not only do we have this highly invasive periwinkle, but we have tons of burrs. This has just got a bit unruly.
What I like to say to people is do your best to just sort of elevate the earth a little bit, stick a shovel in, pop up those roots, and remove what you can right away. Another great way is a tarp. You could put a tarp down, and as long as you're okay with looking at a tarp for 2 years, you can then remove it, and then underneath it should be dead in that area.
You have brought a bunch of native plants for us to look at.
And it's always good to plant native plants because they can tolerate our climate, they can tolerate our soil conditions. So when it's really dry in August, and they can tolerate that, but they can also survive through the shoulder seasons of maybe when it's very wet. The Ministry of Natural Resources has a really good publication called Along the Shore. It gives a very detailed list of shrubs, trees, perennials, ground covers that you can plant into your garden. That's another reason why we like to plant native plants, is because they attract our native pollinators.
There's a bumblebee on that one
Yeah.
right now. What is this? The great blue lobelia. The bees love it, endorsed by bees. There is really rather a lot to know. So I would really suggest that you start off by working with some professionals like the wonderful people at Parklane Landscapes, or take one of their workshops. And then finally, the Conservation Authority actually funds some shoreline restoration work. They fund shoreline planting projects that improve shorelines, such as planting buffer strips on shorelines to increase shade and improve fish habitat, improving ecological function and resilience to climate change, enriching habitat for birds, butterflies, and wildlife by planting native plants, and to increase species diversity, and also to help connect areas for future habitat enrichment. And you can learn more about that on their website, lsrca.on.ca.
I hope that maybe all we've really done here is help change your perspective on what we can do on our properties to give us that functional space, to give us the aesthetics we're looking for, but to also really work to protect the health of our lakes and our shorelines and the habitats surrounding that.
We have all this really specific information and direction for Lake Simcoe. Now we have to use it, and we have to protect this legislation so that Lake Simcoe can stay healthy for future generations. Now do your part by working on your shoreline in the best, most environmentally friendly way possible.